Hello and welcome to our global Heartstream meditation. I'm your host, Gabriel Gonsalves, broadcasting live on this Wednesday, the 17th of July, 2024. I want to give a shout out to those of you who are live with us here today, to Janet, to Jacqueline, who says that she's listening to this as she walks. So for you, Jacqueline, it's going to be a walking meditation. Irish, who's having a beautiful, sunshiny day in Shropshire. I hope I said this right. And Cindy, and everybody else who's joining us right now at this moment on this beautiful hot summer day. It's hot, super hot here in Granada. Do not expect anything less than that at this time of the year. Today's topic is on the three levels of forgiveness. I remember many years ago, my goodness, all the way back in 2006, when I began my practitioner studies with Reverend Michael Beckwith at the Church of Agape in Los Angeles. Reverend Michael Beckwith would speak about forgiveness as the most underrated spiritual technology. So I want to invite you to think of this thing that we call forgiveness, not just as the Christian thing to do, the loving thing to do, but a very powerful technology that is available to you at any given time that can be profoundly liberating. In fact, one of the quickest and fastest way to move through the different scales of vibrational levels of consciousness is actually by the power of forgiveness, especially the type of forgiveness that very few people speak about, which is forgiving yourself. Many of us, especially heart-centered people that come to this work after you've been moving into your heart for a while, it becomes easier and easier to move into this place of just embracing forgiveness as a natural way of being in towards others. But we forget more often than not to forgive ourselves, and to continue to still hold a certain judgment or self-hatred towards actions that we took in the past or failed to take, which we're still holding ourselves accountable for. Okay, so this is an important aspect today. And forgiveness is incredibly useful along the four stages of the path of heart mastery. If you're new to my work, you may have heard me speak about the four stages of heart mastery. There's a quiz on my website that you can take by answering 10 simple questions. You'll be able to find out at the stage the stage that you're currently at right now at this moment. Okay. You can access this quiz by visiting gabrielgonsalves.com. And the four stages along the path of heart mastery are the stage of the hermit, where we're still operating a lot from our head, from our mind, and then eventually initiate uh, our walk or our path towards the heart, which is called the stage of the initiation or the initiate. And then eventually we move into the stage of healing or cleaning up, where we're inviting more and more and more unconditional love and spiritual energy. All right. And eventually emerge triumphantly out of the other end, healed and transformed and ready to support others along the same path. So I want you to think of forgiveness as an incredibly useful tool or technology that you can use, especially as you start moving into stage three, stage of the heart warrior. So, what are these three different levels of forgiveness? Well, I remember many years ago, I'd say all the way to possibly around 1990, which is when I first began to do some deep personal development work. And this work began in Dallas, Texas, when I started assisting a series of personal development seminars that were organized and produced and created by Dr. Phil McGraw. They used to be called, they're still called, pathway seminars. And in there, we work through a lot of our primary relationships. We explore our relationship with our mom and with our dad. And we go through the process of looking at all the resentment that we're still holding towards our parents and look at all the reasons why. And then we write a letter of forgiveness where we're forgiving them, we're letting them off the hook, we're also forgiving ourselves. And along that journey, I remembered I first heard about a very powerful, very simple forgiveness affirmation that you could use. And it's so simple. Any of us, when you're new to the path of forgiveness, you can use it. And it goes like this: I fully, wholly, and completely forgive you, and forgive myself. I set you free, and I set myself free. So I fully, wholly, and completely forgive you, and I forgive myself. I set you free, and I set myself free. All right. So I remember for days on days after the seminar, repeating that affirmation and repeating that I was forgiving my parents for certain things that happened in my childhood that I felt a lot of anger and resentment towards. But the feeling would still not go away. Somewhere deep in my mind, I would still hold them accountable or think that they wrong me. And this is why I needed to forgive them. Well, what I was experiencing at that moment is what I call the first level of forgiveness. Is a type of forgiveness that is done from a rational mind perspective. So we want to forgive, right? But we're still stuck in this idea of I'm right, they wrong me, and so I'm just going to forgive them because that's the loving thing to do. That's what a loving daughter or a loving son would do. But at the same time, I remember I would still be feeling certain sense of resentment and anger towards them. And it's because I had not really moved into the heart. The second level of forgiveness must and has to include the heart. This is what I remember going to Catholic school. They call this contrition of the heart. In other words, you must be willing to feel the pain, the disappointment. You must be willing to allow your heart to fully break. All right. This is the area in which Rumi can be incredibly helpful when he speaks about the heart has to be fully cracked open so that the light can get in. And what this means is being willing to be fully present to this emotional aspect of yourself that felt betrayed, abandoned, unheard, unseen, wounded for whatever reason may have been. But you have to give yourself permission to feel the pain. And one of the ways in which we avoid feeling this emotional pain is by being stuck in our heads, in our intellect. As long as I still hold on to some kind of a positionality that I'm right, you're wrong, right? Holding on to that energy keeps me from really allowing my heart to fully break. And so, for you to be able to move into the second level of forgiveness, you have to become very present into your body. You have to become very present to the emotions, to the physical sensations, and also to the story that you're still holding on in your mind, because this second level of forgiveness requires that you release primarily two things. First, you must be willing to release the anger, the bitterness, the feelings of hurt, the sadness, betrayal, whatever it is that may have been triggered by the situation or this event. But also, and I would say more importantly, you also have to be willing to release and let go of all the preconceived ideas, perceptions, and judgments and stories you have been telling yourself about the situation. Because as long as you continue to hold the positionality that you're right, they're wrong, you cannot really move into the realm of the heart, which see things from a place of essence and innocence. The heart is your window to eventually allow the spiritual energy, out of which you will then be able to recontextualize the entire situation. All right, so this level of the heart requires that you surrender again, one, all the emotions that you did not give yourself permission to feel. You must be willing to feel them very deeply until they have run their course. And you have to be willing to surrender all the stories, especially the story of victimhood, that you were the victim of somebody. All right. And this is really key to be able to move to the third level. The third level of forgiveness, I believe, doesn't really happen until you have surrendered the story and until you've given yourself permission to feel very deeply. All right. So again, when Rumi said the one is how the light gets in, what that light represents, it represents the infinite wisdom and perspective of God or divinity. So this is when, as we let go of our own interpretation of the events, we begin to see things from a completely different perspective. You may even see things from a higher soul perspective. Not sure if you guys have ever had the opportunity to listen to Wayne Dwyer's tell the story of the little soul. And the essence of the story is this soul, before it incarnated, was looking for someone to break their heart and to betray them. And all the souls in heaven loved these little souls too much. They all said no, until one brave soul said to this soul, yes, I love you so much that I'm willing to incarnate and to break your heart, because that's how you're going to evolve into a higher sphere of unconditional love. So the essence of the story is that before we incarnated into this physical realm that we call life on this earth, you were a soul who came here, who made a decision to incarnate because there were certain lessons that you needed to learn. Lessons about love, forgiveness, lessons of surrender, lessons of being of service. More often than not, all these lessons are related to love, either giving love or receiving love. Because remember, as a Course of Miracle teaches, the only subject in this school that we call Earth is love. And so this situation, when you look at what is the lesson that is teaching you, when you look at what are the areas or the ways in which the situation is inviting you to grow in compassion, to grow in forgiveness, to grow in unconditional love, to grow in wisdom, etc., begin to point to you to what may be going on at the soul level. Because remember, the human perspective is just one dimension. It is a valid one, obviously, because it's the one that we fully inhabit at this moment. But don't forget that you are a spiritual being having an earthly experience, not necessarily the other way around. All right. And so when you begin to then find quiet times to not only surrender your feelings, your thoughts, your interpretation of the events, your story of the events, at that moment, you open yourself to the greater wisdom of divinity to begin to show you the bigger aspect. More often than not, many of these things that we are reluctant to forgive, they're karmic driven. In other words, they are karmic payments from a previous debt that we acquired. And so, for example, if you find that your partner was cheating on you, it could have been that in a past life you cheated on them, but you had no accountability. You didn't had no idea what you were doing. So in this lifetime, it's your turn to experience what it's like to have your heart broken and have your partner, your committed partner, cheat on you, so that you can repay that debt for all the suffering that you may have caused a partner in a previous life. When you begin to see things from this higher perspective, you begin to realize, wow, there's ultimately nothing to forgive. This was just a lesson that I signed up for. And so you release and let go then of the story. You open up to see a new perspective, only to realize that the entire situation that you wanted to forgive in the first place has now been recontextualized. But again, this recontextualization of the experience cannot really happen until you make the decisions to want to forgive, but go beyond the rational level of forgiveness and actually move into the emotional and then also into the spiritual aspect. And that requires heart. That requires also moving or activating the energy of compassion, which is your own capacity to be with your own pain for the purpose of easing your own suffering, so that then you can reach these new heights. And this is what makes forgiveness such an incredibly powerful technology. And possibly as a heart warrior, those of you guys who are walking this path towards heart mastery is probably your most powerful tool that you can ever use. Now, here's the thing, and I want to share the secret of what makes forgiveness works for me at this level. So pay attention to what I'm about to say. We forgive not because the other person deserves it. We forgive not because it's the loving, the kind, the Christian, the Muslim thing to do. No, we forgive as an expression of our devotion to God. We forgive as an expression of our love for God. So in our prayer, even if we're struggling to forgive, we in essence connect with the divinity within and we speak to God and we say, in essence, something to the effect of, Dear God, my human self does not want to forgive such a situation or such person. The human in me wants to still be right, wants to be righteous, wants revenge, wants retribution. I own my humanity, O God. But out of love for thee, O Lord, because my relationship with you is more important than anything, I now choose to release this burden, this hatred from my heart so that my relationship with thee can become stronger. So you do it out of love and devotion for God. You don't do it for the other person. And in doing that, and doing so, what you're doing again is you are liberating yourself and you're also liberating the other person. Because here's the thing, and this is something a lot of people don't know about, is that every time you hold someone in the prison of your mind and you see them as the perpetrator, or you hold these unexpressed anger or resentment towards them, from a psychic emotional perspective, they can feel that too. So almost like you're sending out these energetic hooks and you're hooking yourself to them and then you become attached to them. This is why then it can become very easy to be manipulated right back into anger, back into resentment by the same person because the hook's already there. But the moment that through the process of forgiveness, you begin to release and let go of all these emotional and psychic hooks, at that moment, you begin to liberate yourself and to liberate them. All right. And oftentimes, when you create that kind of psychic space between you and another person, oftentimes wonderful healing and even miraculous healing in the relationship can take place. But it takes one, at least one, to be able to move into that heart center space and be willing to, out of love and devotion for God, to offer all this pain, to offer this in essence as a sacrifice. In other words, you're making your relationship to divinity more sacred than you wanting to be right or wanting to be happy. Okay, so it's very important then that anytime that you're choosing to do forgiveness work, that you are mindful of these three levels of forgiveness. Now, many of my clients, including myself, use an incredibly powerful technique of forgiveness called Oponopono. Okay, it's part of the Kahuna tradition, Hawaiian tradition, where you're in essence repeat a few phrases that can be incredibly powerful. And these phrases are, I love you. Please forgive me. I am so sorry. Thank you. I love you. Please forgive me. I am so sorry. Thank you. Now, the same thing applies to if you're working with Oponopono. To repeat the words just for the sake of repeating them, just as an affirmation from your mind, in my experience, yields very little result. Ho'oponopono becomes incredibly powerful the moment you start involving your heart into it. The moment you begin to place a hand over your heart, Beginning to breathe, inhaling into the heart. I'm going to go ahead and show you the heart coherence technique that I normally guide you through each one of my meditations. So you focus on the heart, you begin to breathe slowly, deeply, and evenly into the heart, and then you activate this feeling of gratitude, appreciation, compassion, or unconditional love. If from that space of unconditional love or compassion or appreciation, from that place, you begin to speak the words, I love you. Please forgive me. I am so sorry. Thank you. From that space, then that vibrational frequency can then not only open your heart even more, allow you to experience the pain, surrender your own positionality, but can also welcome the greater wisdom of the divine. So, my recommendation for those of you who love and enjoy working with Ho'oponopono is that don't just repeat the phrases. Okay. You want to bring the heart into it. And the way that you bring your heart into it is by focusing on the heart, energizing the heart, and then activating the feeling. So that when you do say, I love you, at that moment, there's the energy, the vibration of love. When you say, please forgive me, I am so sorry, at that moment, you have activated the energy of forgiveness and appreciation. When you say, thank you deeply feel it in your heart. At that moment, Ho'oponopono, as I just mentioned, can become super, super, super powerful. All right, so with this as an intro to today's guided meditation, let's move in now into the experiential part of our time together. So the invitation now is to put everything down and allow life to take care of itself for the next few moments as I guide you now into a heart centered meditation for self forgiveness. Please bring a hand over to the middle of your chest. And if you're watching this video, I'd like you to look at the image that I am broadcasting right now. This is an image of the Heartwave 2.0 Energy Mandalas by Eric Thompson. And this one is called the Heart of Serenity. It's been infused with the vibrational signature of a peaceful, serene heart. Take it in with both eyes and begin to breathe the energy from this mandala straight into your heart. Breathing slowly, breathing nice and deep, with a nice even breath so that the inhale and the exhale are approximately the same length. As you gently close your eyes, if you haven't already done so, I'd like you to imagine that right there where your hand is, in the middle of your chest, there is a small replica of the sun shining in a bright day. Feel its warmth. See its golden rays. With each inhalation into the heart, give yourself permission to release and let go of any unnecessary tension around your head, your neck, your shoulders. Allowing life to take care of itself for the next few moments as you become more present to the beating of your own heart and to the energy that powers your life from within. Feel gratitude for this heartbeat, this holy and sacred heartbeat, an expression of the heartbeat of the divine. A heartbeat that generates the largest electromagnetic field within you, and that is also the connecting point to the heartbeat of God. And as you feel gratitude and appreciation, please repeat after me. I live in the heart of God. The heart of God lives in me. Together, they combine into one. I am one with the heart of God. Feel this connection. Know it is true. Feel gratitude. Feel appreciation for this life. The breath that animates your being. And the power that beats in your heart. Knowing that this is the power that creates your life moment to moment. And that right here and right now, through the power of forgiveness, you have the capacity to let go of the past, to let go of all resentments, to release all sense of self-hatred, guilt, or shame, and fully set yourself free. As you continue to breathe in and out of the heart, allow me now to speak the following words on your behalf. In the name of the Father, my beloved, I am presence, which is God in me. In the name of the Son, my holy Christ self, which is Christ in me. And of the Holy Spirit, the presence of God in which I live, move, and have my being. And speaking on behalf of everyone who is here today, they're live or watching this replay, I now speak the following words. Dear God, thank you for the gift of this life. Thank you for the beating of my heart in your image and likeness. I know that right here and right now, Every heartbeat is a constant reminder of the miracle of my life, for which I am grateful. In the name of your Son, Jesus the Christ, I call for the love, wisdom, and power to forgive myself for past errors or mistakes and fully release from my heart any sense of self-hatred, resentment, anger, guilt, or shame. That my heart may be purified right here and right now as an act of my own spiritual, conscious choice and will. That I may be fully free to be an instrument of your will, your compassion, your freedom, your truth, and your joy. May at this divine and sacred moment, the sacred, pure heart of Christ and Mother Mary be superimposed over my heart, cleansing my heart, cleansing my soul, and setting me free through the power of forgiveness. That a new understanding may arise within my heart and mind. And may all this be done according to thy divine will, for thy glory and only thy glory. That God's love, wisdom, and power may be glorified in me for the benefit of humanity and for the good of all. Amen. For the next few moments, as you breathe in and out of the heart, allow your mind to welcome situations from the past for which you have still not forgiven yourself. Areas in which you're still holding self-hatred, in which you have been still being overly critical of yourself. And as you allow yourself to welcome these memories or the situations, feel the presence of the divine love, wisdom, and power in your heart, and say to yourself, either silently or out loud, I love and I accept myself. I forgive myself and I set myself free. I love and I accept myself. I forgive myself and I set myself free. I love and I accept myself. I forgive myself and I set myself free. I love and I accept myself. I forgive myself and I set myself free. In a few moments, I'm going to ask you to empty all the air out of your lungs in preparation for 3 deep inhales into the heart. What I'd like you to do is, with every inhalation into the heart, I want you to expand and multiply that feeling of appreciation and compassion that you're feeling right now. Expanding it as much as you possibly can. Ready? Let all the air out of your lungs. Inhale into the heart. Expanding that feeling and releasing. One more time. Deep inhale into the heart. Multiplying the feeling of gratitude and appreciation. And releasing. One last time. Deep inhale into the heart. Expanding that feeling, multiplying it, letting it flow and grow, and exhaling. And with this expanded awareness now, surrounded by this feel of gratitude and appreciation, I want you to imagine now that your heart's radiance begins to flow out to your friends and your family, radiating this feeling of gratitude and appreciation to people in your life, to your friends and your family. Radiating out like a light bulb radiates its light out to everyone in your town, your city. Radiating out to everyone in your country, radiating out to everyone in the world. See the heart wave of gratitude and appreciation leave your heart, unified with all the heart waves of everyone who's present here with us today, and all the heart waves of people who are anchoring the energy of unconditional love upon this earth, and see it flowing through the planet, letting love do what love does. Love nurtures, love cares for, love supports, love heals, love harmonizes, love re-energizes, love makes all things new. Feel the heart wave. Feel the love. And know that this love is right here and right now. This love, which is greater than the individual sum of the parts, is now going to all those areas around the globe where there's suffering, where there's confusion, where there's pain, where there's mourning, where there's grief, where there's loss. Lifting the heart and mind of God's children. Elevating the entire planetary consciousness, raising the vibrational field in the same way in which an ocean of rays and the ships rise. Letting love flow freely from your heart with gratitude and appreciation and a deep knowing that you're not the source of that love. You're just simply a vehicle, an instrument through which divine love flows from and returns to. Take a moment now to secretly and silently speak your own prayer of gratitude to divinity, to the God of your understanding in a way that feels natural to you. Gently, we now initiate the full return to our physical awareness that surrounds us, fully embodying our senses, becoming once again acquainted with the physical reality that surrounds us as we open our eyes, feeling wonderful, feeling present, feeling calm, feeling peaceful, re-energized, revitalized, ready to move forward with life and our next activity. Welcome back, everyone. How are you feeling? What are you taking away from today's guided meditation? I love it if you could share it in the comment section below. I want to say hello to those of you who came after we began. Mariette, Christoph, brother. I like what you have to say about being volunteers of God in this age of transformation. Yes. Shita, welcome. Lita, welcome. Lila. All right, my beautiful friends. Thank you so much for lending me your hearts and ears and for allowing me to be your guide into the infinite realm of your beautiful heart. Remembering once again that technology. There's a very powerful technology that you have always available to you, which is the technology of forgiveness. The moment you begin to bring your heart into the process of forgiveness, at that moment, you're not only increasing your capacity to transmute all the negative emotions that you've been withholding, but also releasing all the stories and your interpretation of events and opening yourself to the divine wisdom that will allow you inevitably to recontextualize the situation, more often than not, with the realization that there was nothing to forgive in the first place. Has it ever happened to you that you've had a disagreement with somebody that you love and then you have a huge fight? And then after you work it out, you can't even remember what the fight was about. I don't know. It's happened to me many times. And so if you can arrive at a point where you don't even remember what the argument was about, the same thing happens with this process of forgiveness. You get to a point where you realize, like, well, there's nothing to forgive because I can't even remember what it was that happened. That's when you know you've really moved into the higher level, when you realize there's nothing to forgive. All right, my beautiful friends, once again, I wish you a fantastic rest of the week, wherever you are in the world. Please remember to be loving and gentle with yourself as if you were treating the most loving and the most special person in the world. Okay? Take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. I look forward to seeing you again next week, same time, on this same channel. And until then, I send you all of my love from my heart to yours. Bye-bye for now.